Ava Whitmore glanced at the clock again, her arm precariously balancing 3 plates, the hour nearing midnight. After 10 hours on her feet, serving tables at Café Belmont, her legs throbbed with fatigue. With an instinctive smile, she set the hamburgers down on table 6, despite the middle-aged man not even glancing her way. "Need anything else?" she asked, maintaining a warm tone despite her fatigue. "More ketchup," he replied, his gaze fixed on his phone. In the kitchen, Ava calculated in her mind. With the advice from tonight, she might finally be able to repair the leak in her apartment, or maybe she could purchase those medications that Michael needed which weren't covered by insurance. There was always a scarcity for both. "Hey, Ava." Sarah, a fellow server, gently nudged her arm. "Table 3 is yours." Ava glanced over at table 3 and noticed a man sitting alone, freshly arrived. Even in just jeans and a plain blue shirt, there was an undeniable air of affluence about him. Perhaps it was the timepiece adorning his wrist, or the assured manner in which he perched, as though the universe was in his debt. "Good evening. May I take your order?" Ava inquired, her notepad at the ready. The man glanced up from the menu, and for a fleeting moment, Ava sensed an electric connection between them. His eyes were a striking shade of blue, a vivid contrast to his impeccably styled dark hair. "Just black coffee and apple pie, please," he replied, his voice gentler than she had anticipated. From the penthouse of the Lancaster building, Ethan Caldwell gazed out at the city through expansive floor-to-ceiling windows. 40 floors below, the crowd resembled a colony of ants, each individual hurrying towards an unknown destination, each one in search of something essential. He perceived the world as a place teeming with individuals seeking something from him. "Mr. Caldwell, the board is waiting," his assistant announced from the door. Ethan adjusted his Italian tie and picked up his leather briefcase. At 35, he had constructed a real estate empire that rivaled those of the city's old magnates. As he stepped into the conference room, 10 men clad in tailored suits rose to their feet. "Gentlemen," Ethan acknowledged with a nod, "we're cutting costs today." The meeting unfolded predictably, with Ethan making proposals and others readily acquiescing. No one had the audacity to oppose him. By the end, he had secured another $50 million for his next project. "Ethan, are you attending the charity dinner on Friday? What did you think?" Richard inquired as they exited. "Most likely. My assistant will confirm," he replied without thinking, aware that it would merely be another evening filled with insincere smiles and women drawn to his wealth. Café Belmont felt like a different universe compared to the expansive meeting rooms where Ethan spent his days. Nestled in a lower middle-class neighborhood, it was the sort of establishment that catered more to night shift workers than to executives enjoying business lunches. Ava resided in a cramped apartment just 3 blocks away, cohabiting with leaks and overdue bills. Her hands bore the calluses of genuine labor, while Ethan's were smooth from the ease of signing documents. She offered a sincere smile to her patrons. He wore a rehearsed grin for the lenses. However, on that Wednesday evening, when Ethan stepped into Café Belmont for the first time, an unplanned diversion after a tiring day of discussions, their paths intersected in an unforeseen manner. "I haven't spotted you here before," Ava remarked, pouring the coffee. "Never been," Ethan replied, surprised at his own willingness to engage further. "But I'm considering returning tomorrow." Ava smiled, unaware that this blue-eyed man held a blend of power and fear within him, and Ethan, gazing at the waitress with her effortless smile, found it hard to believe that she would be the one to ultimately confront all his notions of trust and love. 2 months passed in a blur of coffee dates, late-night talks, and experiences that had Ethan reevaluating everything he believed about relationships. Ava was unlike anyone he had ever been with before. She chuckled freely, expressed her thoughts candidly, and appeared unfazed by the understated suggestions he made regarding his affluence. "You know, my company just acquired that building," he remarked casually, as they strolled by a shining skyscraper. Ava merely shrugged in response. "Awesome. Now, share more about that dog you had when you were 10. Her lack of enthusiasm for his achievements was both invigorating and disconcerting. Throughout his life, he often felt that others had expectations of him, particularly from women. His mother had left his father for someone wealthier, a lesson that had etched itself into Ethan's mind. Rely on no one, particularly when they profess their affection for you. Yet, there was something about Ava that felt distinctly altered, and that was what troubled him. One evening, as they sat in his opulent apartment with a view of the sprawling city, uncertainty enveloped him. "Penny for your thoughts?" Ava inquired, settling in next to him on the leather sofa. Ethan turned to her, this remarkable woman who often took on double shifts, who surprised him with homemade sandwiches during his late nights, who never once questioned his financial situation. Was it merely a performance? A grand deception? "I need to know if you're genuine," he murmured, more to himself than to her. "What do you mean?" She furrowed her brow, worry etched across her face. "Nothing," he replied, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. Yet the seed of his scheme had already begun to take root. A week later, Ethan extended an invitation to Ava for dinner at a sophisticated restaurant. His hands quivered ever so slightly as he adjusted his tie in the reflection. This evening, he would embark on the most significant risk of his existence. "You seem a bit on edge," Ava remarked once they were settled. She appeared stunning in a modest blue dress, one she had casually borrowed from a friend. "I have something to share with you," Ethan started, his voice intentionally taut. "I've lost everything." He observed her intently while weaving his elaborate story. Stock market crash, poor investments, company bankruptcy, his penthouse vanished, his cars taken back, his reputation shattered. "All that remains for me is a tiny emergency fund and a humble apartment in Westbrook," he finished, referencing a blue-collar area on the other side of town. Ethan steeled himself for the familiar gaze he had encountered countless times. Disappointment, assessment, or, even more unsettling, sympathy, soon to be followed by a poised departure. He had steeled himself for the familiar ache of validation. However, Ava's response caught him completely off guard. She extended her hand across the table, gently clasping his. "Wealth is fleeting. We'll figure this out." There were no inquiries about what he still possessed, no hints of retreat, just a firm grip of his hand and steadfast eyes. "Are you certain you want to be with someone who can no longer provide you with nice things?" he probed, delving deeper. Ava chuckled softly. "Ethan, I've spent my entire life not having nice things. I'm with you for who you are, not for what you can give me." A strange sensation stirred within him, a mix of discomfort and something else. Was it relief or perhaps shame? The next week, Ethan settled into the pre-furnished apartment he had leased in Westbrook. It was tidy yet unadorned, a sharp difference from his luxurious penthouse. He had orchestrated the dissemination of news regarding his decline within business circles, making certain that Ava would learn of it from others as well. "Welcome home," Ava said, assisting him with the few boxes he had brought along. "It's cozy." Ethan observed her as she navigated the compact area, mentally cataloging potential enhancements. She made no mention of the creaky floors or the antiquated bathroom. Rather, she adorned the space with curtains she had brought along and positioned a small plant on the windowsill. "There," she said, "already feels more like home." That night they shared takeout on the floor, as he hadn't yet found time to purchase a dining table. Ava recounted tales of her upbringing in equally humble settings, of mastering the art of making a dollar last, of discovering happiness in the little things. For the first time, Ethan sensed a pang of inadequacy, not due to his deception but because of her genuine nature. As days morphed into weeks, Ava kept astonishing him. She brought home remnants from the cafe, guided him through the intricacies of public transport, and unveiled the neighborhood's budget-friendly gems. She never voiced a complaint when he proposed free outings over dining out. Instead, she appeared to relish their strolls in the park and evenings spent watching movies with the community more than their earlier lavish outings. However, what resonated with Ethan the most was her unwavering emotional support. When he feigned anxiety over job searching, She would stay up late assisting him in refining his less impressive resume. When he feigned disappointment after receiving rejections, she was there to remind him of his many strengths. "You remain the same exceptional individual," she'd remark. "That hasn't changed." With each passing day, Ethan's test grew harder to defend. Yet every time he thought about revealing the truth, a persistent voice echoed, "What if she's simply an expert at the long con?" Then came the night he witnessed her discreetly slide the envelope into her purse, and his uncertainties surged back with full force. The envelope incident took place on a Tuesday. Ava had been unfocused throughout the day, glancing at her phone more frequently than normal and replying to Ethan's inquiries with terse, abrupt responses. "Is everything all right?" he inquired as she moved by him, tending to the small stove in his apartment. "Yeah, just tired." Her smile was devoid of warmth. Ethan observed her as she stepped away to take a call in the hallway, her voice barely above a whisper. Upon her return, he sensed a shift. A tightness had settled in her shoulders, a stark contrast to her earlier demeanor. "I have to stop by the cafe this evening to collect my paycheck," she declared at the dinner table. "The direct deposit has been mishandled." It was a plausible explanation, yet there was an unsettling quality in her voice. Ethan nodded, feigning belief in her words. "Do you want me to accompany you?" "There's no need. I'll be quick." She pressed her lips to his cheek. "You need to take a break. Important interview tomorrow, right?" The interview was merely a part of his intricate deception, yet Ava had dedicated her time to assist him all week, delving into the company and rehearsing possible questions. Once she departed, Ethan began to pace the apartment. Trust had always been a challenge for him, and now his instincts were in overdrive. Just 20 minutes after she left, he snatched his jacket and set out after her. When he reached the cafe, it was shrouded in darkness, having closed its doors hours earlier. Ava was absent from view. A blend of satisfaction and dismay surged within him. His suspicions had proven to be correct. He wandered without purpose for a time, pondering her possible whereabouts, when he caught sight of her recognizable blue coat a short distance ahead. She moved quickly, gripping her purse firmly against her side. Maintaining a safe distance, Ethan trailed her through the strange streets. The neighborhood transformed over time, structures falling into disrepair, graffiti adorning the walls of narrow alleys. This was not a location Ava had ever brought up. She paused at a decrepit apartment complex, entering a code into a weathered security box. Before stepping inside, she cast a wary glance around. Ethan just managed to hide behind a parked van at the last moment. His heart raced as he crossed the street, finding a spot that offered a clear line of sight to the entrance of the building. 15 minutes later, Ava stepped out, her purse absent. A man trailed behind her, tall and bearing the same dark hair as Ava, though his features were more rugged. They exchanged words with intensity for a brief moment before sharing an embrace. The man pressed a gentle kiss to her cheek, and a strange sensation coiled within Ethan. As Ava began to walk away, the man called out to her. She hesitated, and he offered her a neatly folded piece of paper. She slipped it into her pocket before walking away, her stance clearly more at ease than earlier. Ethan arrived at the apartment ahead of her, his mind racing. Who was this man? A lover? A dealer? Was Ava handing him money? Was this linked to his alleged financial ruin? When she came back, her cheeks rosy from the chill, he feigned interest in a job search book. "How did it go at the cafe?" he inquired nonchalantly. "It went well. Everything's taken care of." She hung up her coat, and he observed that her purse was conspicuously absent. "What happened to your purse?" A brief flash of concern crossed her features before she offered a smile. "Oh, the strap broke. I entrusted it to a shop close to the cafe for repairs." Another deception. Over the following week, Ethan observed Ava with heightened scrutiny. On 2 more occasions, she crafted similar excuses for the evening. Each time, he trailed her to the same building, observing her rendezvous with the same man. Once, he distinctly witnessed her counting out cash from an envelope before passing it along. His test had been completely upended. He had intended to find out if Ava would remain by his side without his wealth, but now it appeared she might be taking advantage of the little he supposedly had left. The breaking point arrived when he discovered money missing from his wallet. $300 he had intentionally placed there to test its fate. The following day it was missing. That evening, Ava declared she had to go out once more. To see him, Ethan finally blurted out, unable to hold back any longer. Ava paused by the door, her hand resting on the knob. What? The man you've been meeting. The one you've been supporting financially. Ethan's tone was icy, concealing the pain underneath. Is that where my $300 disappeared to? Her complexion went pale. You followed me? I needed to uncover the truth. He rose, arms crossed. Who is he? Ava? A boyfriend? A dealer? What's happening? It's not what you believe. Her voice quivered. So what is it? Because from my perspective, it seems like you've been taking from me and deceiving me. Tears welled up in her eyes. Michael is my brother. The room fell into silence. Ethan was taken aback by that revelation. Your brother, he echoed thoughtfully. Yes, and I didn't take anything from you. She retrieved the folded paper the man had handed her and placed it on the coffee table. I borrowed it because he requires medication. I intended to repay you on payday. Ethan grabbed the paper. It turned out to be a prescription with a pharmacy receipt included. $278 for an anti-seizure medication. Why didn't you just tell me? He asked, his anger easing a bit. Ava's gaze turned steely. Due to Michael's time in prison, Ethan, he was released 3 months ago and is struggling to find employment. He has epilepsy and without insurance, the cost of his medication is beyond his means. I've been assisting him in keeping his head above water. Prison? Ethan's surprise was palpable. Yes, prison, she declared with conviction. Now you understand why I chose to keep it hidden. The moment they hear that word, people jump to conclusions. Ethan sensed the earth trembling beneath him. His meticulously crafted test was falling apart, yet not in the manner he had expected. I believe, Ava said softly, that you owe me an explanation as well. Beginning with the reason you've been shadowing me. They stood opposite one another in the cramped living room, the atmosphere thick with unvoiced judgments. Ethan sensed his meticulously crafted story starting to fall apart. I followed you because the pieces weren't fitting together, he stated, selecting his words with precision. The late-night vanishings, the hushed phone conversations. What was I meant to believe? You were meant to have faith in me, Ava retorted. That's the foundation of any relationship. Ethan. They have faith in one another. The irony of her words struck him with the force of a tangible impact. Trust, the very element he had been scrutinizing all this time. What did your brother do? Ethan asked, shifting the topic. Why was he in prison? Ava sank onto the couch, her weariness evident. Armed robbery. Yet it was not as it appeared. She detailed how Michael had become involved with a questionable group following the loss of their parents. She recounted his presence during a convenience store robbery, unaware that his companions were carrying weapons. The public defender had recommended that he accept a plea deal instead of facing the possibility of a longer sentence in court. Ultimately, he served 4 years, she noted, and was released early for good behavior. Yet now he struggles to secure employment, unable to find a place to live, and is denied access to healthcare. The system seems intent on perpetuating his suffering. Ethan absorbed the words, a tightness growing in his gut. He had been so consumed by his own anxieties, his own challenges, that he overlooked the genuine battles unfolding before him. Why didn't you mention him earlier? He inquired, his tone now gentler. Because I've witnessed how people respond. Ava's gaze locked onto his, unwavering. They claim to be empathetic, yet soon their perception shifts. As if I could pose a threat as well. Or they transform Michael into a mere charity case to soothe their own conscience. I couldn't stand to witness either scenario unfold with you. Ethan settled beside her, maintaining a respectful distance, yet close enough to sense the intensity of her fury. I still don't understand why you didn't just ask me for the money for his medication, he said. Because I'm not with you for your money, Ethan. I've always paid my own way. Her voice wavered a bit. I planned to get a new one on payday. I didn't have enough this month after covering his rent. The weight of shame in Ethan's chest felt like a tightening noose. Ava was there, tirelessly putting in double shifts, scraping together every penny, supporting her brother in his journey to rebuild, while Ethan found himself merely testing her resolve through games. "There's something I need to tell you," he said softly. The moment of truth had come, yet it unfolded differently than he had envisioned. Ava regarded him with caution. "What? I haven't been entirely truthful with you either." He inhaled deeply. "I'm not broke, Ava. I never have been." She gazed at him, bewilderment taking the place of fury. "What are you saying? The bankruptcy, the job loss, this apartment. It's all a fabrication." As he began, the words flowed effortlessly. "I still possess my company. I still own my penthouse. I still possess it all." Her expression shifted as realization set in. Initially, there was disbelief, followed by shock, and ultimately a chilling rage he had never witnessed before. "Are you saying," she began, her voice dangerously quiet, "that you pretended to lose everything as some kind of test?" Ethan nodded, unable to meet her eyes. "I needed to know if you wanted me for me, or for my money." The laugh that burst from Ava was harsh and humorless. "That's quite something, Ethan, truly something. Do you have any idea what I've been up to these last few months? Putting in extra hours to assist you with the rent. Bringing back leftover food so we could cut down on grocery expenses. Demonstrating the art of budgeting. I assumed you were facing difficulties." She rose, moving restlessly around the cramped space. "And all that while you were what? Observing the lives of those less fortunate?" "It wasn't like that," he argued. "What was that experience like? Please help me grasp it, as I'm struggling to comprehend how someone could exhibit such manipulation." Ethan attempted to share insights about his upbringing, recounting the moment his mother departed from his father for a wealthier partner, reflecting on the series of connections where he sensed more exploitation than affection. "So, due to the pain inflicted by others, you chose to inflict pain on me first, anticipating my potential to hurt you." Ava's tone was empty. "That's not love, Ethan, that's fear." The word hit him like a punch. Fear. Had this been the reality from the start? "And the most painful part," she went on, tears finally flowing, "is that while you were caught up in your trivial pursuits, I was genuinely grappling with significant issues. My brother's health, his future, the struggle to make ends meet. These weren't mere challenges or situations for me, Ethan. This is my life." She approached the door, clutching her coat. "Where are you going?" he asked, a sense of panic swelling in his chest. "Far from this place. Far from you." She shook her head in disbelief. "You deceived me, all along. And now you think I should place my trust in you?" The disappointment reflected in her eyes cut deeper than any fury. Ethan extended his hand toward her, but she retreated. "Eva, I beg you. I erred in my judgment. A grave error." "Indeed, you did." She swung the door open. "I crafted one as well. I believed you were unique." Without uttering another word, she exited. She closed the door softly behind her. The gentle click resonated with a weight that felt more devastating than any slam could have. Ethan remained alone in the apartment he had rented for his intricate ruse, encircled by the modest furnishings that had served as mere props in his experiment. For the first time, he perceived them through Ava's perspective. Not merely as a fleeting annoyance, but as the truth she had always lived. In that instant, he grasped the profound essence of losing everything. 3 weeks slipped by, and the absence of communication from Ava was overwhelming. Ethan had returned to his penthouse, yet the space felt devoid of warmth. The expansive windows that once framed a vista of hope now revealed only a void. He had reached out to her countless times, leaving voicemails that became more urgent with each attempt, and even showed up at the cafe. When he confronted her, Sarah's response was icy. She had changed to morning shifts, and she had no desire to see him. In the evenings, he would find himself on his balcony, drink in hand, reflecting on Ava's words. Cowardice. The term lingered in his mind, a painful reminder of his reality. He had been too fearful to embrace trust, too hesitant to show vulnerability, leading him to create a complex challenge that ultimately cost him the only authentic connection he had ever experienced. His phone rang, pulling him abruptly from his reverie. With a flicker of hope that it might be Ava, he grabbed it eagerly, only to find his assistant's name flashing on the screen. "What is it, Jessica?" he replied, his disappointment evident in his tone. "Sir, the Preston deal is unraveling. They assert that we misrepresented the property's value." In the past, this news would have triggered a crisis response from him. At that moment, he found it difficult to muster any concern. "Do what you think is best," he stated, cutting off the conversation before she had a chance to reply. The reality was, nothing felt significant anymore. It wasn't the deals, the money, or the empire he had constructed that mattered. Without Ava, everything felt devoid of purpose. Meanwhile, across town, Ava found herself at her kitchen table, encircled by overdue notices. Her brother's medication expenses had risen, and the time she'd taken off work while caring for Ethan had left her finances in disarray. "You should have let me help you," Michael said, observing her as she organized bills into urgent stacks. "I'm fine," she insisted, though they both recognized it was untrue. "Once I take on those extra weekend shifts, we'll reconnect," Michael frowned. "This is about him, isn't it? You're too proud to accept help because of what he did." Ava remained silent. The hurt Ethan had caused was still too fresh to talk about. She had placed her trust in him entirely, revealing parts of herself she had never shown before, and throughout it all, he had been scrutinizing her, as if she were a subject in a scientific study. Her phone vibrated with a message, yet another apology from Ethan. She dismissed it without a glance. "He persists," Michael noted. "Let him," she replied with a hint of bitterness. Yet, later that night, as she lay in bed alone, she permitted herself to reminisce about the cherished moments. The way Ethan had listened when she shared her dreams, how he never made her feel inferior, even in moments of his own perceived inadequacy. The authentic joy reflected in his eyes during their simplest moments together. Was it all just a performance? Or was there a deeper truth hidden within the facade? This question lingered in her mind, keeping her awake until the first light of dawn. The following evening, Michael returned home with a battered face and bloodied knuckles. "What happened?" Ava exclaimed, hurrying to assess his wounds. Michael flinched as her fingers brushed against his swollen cheek. It was merely a misunderstanding. Yet, as she tended to his wounds, the reality unfolded. He had encountered old prison acquaintances who were seeking his assistance for a job. The unlawful sort. When he declined, they made it evident that there was no alternative. "They are aware of my address, Ava. They are aware of your existence." His voice quivered. "They warned that if I refuse to assist them, they'll ensure I return to incarceration. Or worse." A chill of dread clutched at Ava's heart. "We must go to the police. And what am I supposed to say? That my former cellmates are making threats? They'll just accuse me of breaching my parole by being around known offenders." He shook his head. "I have to get out of here. Begin anew in a place where they won't track me down." "With what money?" Ava asked, though she was already aware that there was only one answer. She would need to deplete her scant savings. Perhaps she would even consider a loan beyond her means. Michael appeared to sense her inner turmoil. "I'll find a way. This isn't your concern." Yet they both understood it was. It had always been her burden ever since their parents passed away. She had made a vow to care for her younger brother. That evening, once Michael was tucked in, Ava found herself in the stillness of the night, wrestling with unthinkable decisions. She could deplete her savings to assist Michael in escaping, jeopardizing her own future in the process. Or she could witness him being drawn back into a life that would undoubtedly lead him straight to prison. There was a third possibility, naturally, one that sent a mix of hope and dread swirling in her stomach. She could reach out to Ethan for assistance. The mere idea of returning to him, of confirming his doubts that her intentions were driven by his wealth, made her feel nauseous. Yet what option remained? Michael's life hung in the balance. With trembling hands, She reached for her phone. Before doubt could creep in, she quickly typed a straightforward message. I need to talk to you. It wasn't about them. It was about her brother. She hit send, then set the phone aside, a sense of having struck a bargain with darkness washing over her. Shortly after, a reply came through. Just tell me when and where. I'll be there. Ava shut her eyes, contemplating whether she was about to make yet another grave error. Yet, deep within the pain and fury, a quiet voice suggested that maybe Ethan was more than just his deception. Perhaps, akin to her brother, he warranted an opportunity to demonstrate his true self. Whether she was prepared to offer him that opportunity was a different matter altogether. They convened at a quaint park bench, a place devoid of shared memories. Ethan arrived ahead of time, his heart pounding as he caught sight of Ava approaching. She appeared more delicate, the darkness beneath her eyes hinting that rest had evaded her just as it had him. Thank you for coming, he said, struggling against the impulse to take her hand. This isn't about us, Ava replied, maintaining her distance as she perched on the opposite end of the bench. It's about Michael. She laid out the situation, the threats, the danger, and Michael's limited options. As she spoke, Ethan listened intently, absorbing the strain in her voice and the way her fingers twisted nervously in her lap. He must move away, begin anew in a place where these individuals can't track him down, she determined. However, that requires funds we lack. How much do you require? Ethan inquired without hesitation. Ava's eyes sparkled with intensity. I didn't come here seeking charity. That's not what I intended, he replied, quickly retracting his words. Ethan was determined to assist Ava in ways that extended beyond financial support. The sleepless hours following her message were consumed with thoughts on how he could genuinely make things right, not only for her but also to address his own shortcomings. He understood people. I can assist Michael in locating genuine employment. A place where these individuals won't search for him, he hesitated. Yet, beyond that, I believe I can address the larger issue at hand. What larger issue? The framework that renders it almost unfeasible for individuals like your brother to begin anew. Ethan shared his vision, a foundation aimed at assisting ex-offenders in securing jobs, housing, and healthcare. Michael could not only benefit from this initiative but also, in time, contribute to the program, leveraging his own journey to support others. Ava's doubt was palpable. You'd really do that? She asked. Why? He replied with a straightforwardness that cut through the tension. Because it's the right thing to do. And because I want to be the man you believed I was, even if you're no longer part of my life. Her expression changed subtly. It wasn't forgiveness, not at this moment, but there was a hint of a fracture in her anger. I'll talk to Michael, she finally said. If he consents, we will take your proposal into account. It exceeded Ethan's expectations. 3 days later, Ethan found himself seated opposite Michael in a coffee shop, a place far removed from his typical spots. The likeness to Ava was remarkable. The same resolute chin, the same unwavering gaze. Yet, while Ava's eyes radiated warmth, Michael's were cautious, scrutinizing. Why should I trust you? Michael asked, his voice steady after Ethan laid out his plan. You lied to my sister for months. The straightforwardness was a breath of fresh air after enduring weeks of corporate jargon. You shouldn't trust me, Ethan admitted. Not based on words, but I'm hoping you'll judge me by my actions from this point forward. Michael studied him closely. Ava believes you're trying to win her over again. Are you inquiring if I still have feelings for her? Ethan held his gaze firmly. Yes, but that's not the reason I'm assisting you. I'm stepping up because I've dedicated my life to accumulating wealth, all the while overlooking the genuine issues surrounding me. It's time I took action that truly counts. After a thoughtful pause, Michael nodded. Understood, but I refuse to accept handouts. I intend to work for what I receive. They sealed the agreement with a handshake. A connection formed between two individuals who shared more similarities than they initially realized, both molded by their fears, both in pursuit of redemption. In the weeks that followed, Ethan immersed himself in his new endeavor with the same fervor he had previously dedicated to business transactions. He arranged for Michael to join a construction firm run by a college acquaintance who was in his debt. He secured an apartment in a nearby city, covered 6 months' rent up front, and set up medical insurance through his company's foundation. Yet his efforts didn't end there. Ethan started engaging with advocacy groups, gaining insight into the challenges that former inmates encounter. He contributed to legal aid organizations and began advocating with his political connections for sentencing reform. He toured halfway houses, absorbing narratives that would have felt foreign to him just months prior. In the process, he uncovered something unforeseen, a sense of purpose. For the first time in his life, Ethan was engaged in something that transcended monetary value or physical space. The gratitude reflected in people's eyes when he assisted them in landing interviews, the relief that washed over them when he assured them his foundation would cover their medication. These moments held greater significance than any achievement in the business realm. He maintained communication with Ava through concise, courteous messages, never demanding more than she was prepared to offer. Occasionally, she replied with a straightforward, "Thank you." At other times, there was just silence. He embraced both with the humility he was gradually acquiring. One evening, after completing a volunteer shift at a job readiness program, he discovered Ava waiting outside. His heart raced as she drew near. "Michael mentioned that you've been visiting here twice a week," she remarked, imparting resume skills. Ethan acknowledged with a nod. "I'm still honing my abilities, but I'm making progress." "That's not what I heard." A subtle smile graced her lips. "They mentioned you've already assisted 5 individuals in securing employment. 7, to be precise." He couldn't suppress the pride in his voice. "One begins in my company's maintenance department tomorrow." They strolled side by side in the soft glow of dusk, the quiet that enveloped them now filled with potential rather than resentment. "I'm not putting on a facade, Ava," he finally admitted. "When you walked away, it compelled me to confront my true self, and I wasn't pleased with the reflection. And now I'm on a journey to become a person I can admire, someone deserving of trust." He paused, turning to look at her. "I realize I caused you pain. I understand that there's no going back. I'm not seeking your forgiveness or another opportunity. I simply want you to realize that knowing you transformed me, despite my misguided actions." Ava examined him closely, her gaze probing his features as if seeking remnants of the man who had betrayed her. "You've transformed," she admitted quietly. "For the better, I trust." "Indeed," she remarked, "for the better." It wasn't about forgiveness, nor was it reconciliation. Yet, as they strolled a bit closer than before, Ethan sensed something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. Autumn draped the city in hues of amber and gold as Ethan immersed himself in his work with the foundation. What started as a quest for redemption transformed into a significant mission that now consumed as much of his time as his real estate empire. He assembled a team focused on creating job opportunities for former inmates, launched a mentorship program, and engaged in discussions with the city regarding subsidized housing initiatives. Throughout the journey, he and Ava kept a careful distance. Their exchanges, primarily focused on Michael's development, were polite yet restrained. Michael had flourished in his new role, recently achieving a promotion to crew supervisor. He had enjoyed several months without seizures, all due to his steady medication, and had even begun dating someone from his support group. One cool October evening, Ethan was putting in extra hours at the foundation's humble offices when his phone vibrated with a message from Ava. "Are you available tomorrow night? There's something I want to share with you." His heart quickened as he responded. "Yes. What time?" 7. "I'll swing by your office to get you." Ethan found himself preoccupied the following day, pondering what Ava intended to reveal and the significance of her reaching out after weeks of sparse communication. By 6:30, he had swapped shirts twice and glanced at his watch numerous times. When Ava arrived, she appeared transformed, radiating a sense of ease that had been absent for months. The simple green dress she wore accentuated the golden flecks in her eyes. "You look beautiful," he remarked before he could rein in his words. She offered a faint smile. "Thanks. Are you ready to go?" They traveled in a relaxed quietude until Ava parked at a modest community center in a neighborhood Ethan had previously steered clear of. Inside, The room buzzed with activity as people arranged chairs in a circle, set out refreshments on a side table, and hung a handmade banner that proclaimed new beginnings, 1-year celebration. "What is this?" Ethan inquired, a look of confusion on his face. "Michael's support group," Ava clarified. "Today signifies a full year since our initial gathering. He requested that I bring you along." Just as Ethan was about to reply, Michael came over, radiating joy, and gave Ethan a friendly pat on the shoulder. "You've arrived. Let's go. There are some remarkable individuals you need to connect with." Over the next hour, Ethan was introduced to at least 20 people, former inmates who had transformed their lives with support from the group and, more recently, from Ethan's foundation. They recounted tales of hardship and victory, of securing employment through his initiatives, of mending family ties. "Before your foundation helped me land that warehouse job, I was on the brink of despair," one man shared. "Now my children have their father back. The medical coverage program truly transformed my life," shared a woman who had faced the struggles of addiction post-incarceration. "I was unable to pay for my mental health medications before." As he absorbed her words, Ethan encountered a feeling he seldom felt. A profound sense of making a difference that transcended mere financial considerations. These weren't mere figures or financial deductions. They were individuals whose lives had transformed because he opted to extend a hand instead of merely amassing more riches. Later, as the festivities began to fade, Ava discovered him seated in solitude, reflecting on all that he had absorbed. "So," she said, taking the chair beside him, "what do you think?" "I think I'm humbled," he replied honestly, "and grateful that you brought me here." She nodded, a soft expression on her face that he hadn't seen since before their falling out. "It was Michael's idea, actually. He mentioned that you should witness the ripple effects of your actions." They lingered in silence for a moment, observing Michael from a distance, laughing with friends who comprehended his challenges because they experienced them too. "I never properly expressed my gratitude," Ava finally said, "for assisting him, for everything." "No need for thanks. That wasn't my motivation." "I understand." She locked eyes with him. "That's why I'm here." The gravity of her words lingered in the air. Ethan sensed his heart race, yet he hesitated to entertain too much hope. Ava paused, her voice soft yet firm, as she shared her thoughts. "I've been reflecting on trust, forgiveness, and the possibility of second chances." She inhaled deeply, her fingers brushing against his arm. "What you did, the lie, it wounded me profoundly. It wasn't just the deception that stung, but the realization that you didn't have the confidence to be honest about your fears." Ethan nodded, acknowledging the weight of her words. "Yet, over these past months, witnessing your transformation, observing your selfless acts of kindness towards others, has revealed your true essence to me." Her voice softened. "Perhaps it's about discovering the essence of who you truly are, hidden behind the barriers you've constructed." "I'm still on this journey," he confessed, striving to improve. "That's the best any of us can hope for." She smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her eyes. "And I'd be there for you as you navigate this, if that's what you want." Ethan experienced a wave of emotion so intense, it almost consumed him. "Are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that I want to give it another shot, gradually, truthfully." She grasped his hand. "No more trials, no more hidden truths, just the two of us exploring what lies ahead." He laced his fingers with hers, scarcely able to accept that this moment was genuine. "I cherish that more than anything," he murmured gently. As they stepped into the crisp evening air, hand in hand, Ethan came to a significant realization. In the midst of losing everything, or rather, in the act of feigning loss, he discovered what was truly significant. Not the lavish penthouse, the thriving company, or the societal accolades, but the essence of connection, a sense of purpose, the bravery to embrace vulnerability, and above all, the opportunity to love and be loved for the person he was evolving into. With a playful nudge of her shoulder against his, Ava asked, "Where do we begin?" Ethan felt a wave of lightness wash over him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in months. "How about dinner? Just the two of us, at a place neither of us has visited before." A new beginning, she concurred. That sounds appealing. Side by side, they strolled to her vehicle, the road ahead blank, yet brimming with potential. Spring came with a soft determination, mirroring the way Ethan and Ava had nurtured their relationship over the past few months. What started as hesitant coffee dates and careful dialogues had evolved into something richer and more genuine than ever. They approached their journey with patience, intentionally allowing trust to grow organically instead of hurrying back to their previous state. Ethan stood on the balcony of his penthouse, observing the city awaken below. The view remained unchanged, yet it resonated with him in a new way. Where he once regarded the world with a sense of distance, focusing solely on opportunities and assets, he now perceived the intricate tapestry of lives unfolding in each shimmering window and bustling street. Coffee? Ava appeared beside him, extending a steaming mug. She had spent the night, a recurring event that still held a sense of uniqueness each time. He accepted it with gratitude, their fingers grazing in a fleeting moment of closeness. "You seem deep in thought this morning," she remarked, leaning against the railing next to him. "Just reflecting on how much has changed," Ava replied with a smile. "For the better, I trust." "Certainly for the better." He wrapped his arm around her, pulling her near. "The foundation has successfully obtained funding for the Transitional Housing Initiative. Construction will commence next month. This endeavor represents Ethan's most ambitious project to date, transforming one of his company's vacant properties into affordable apartments for former inmates reintegrating into society. Michael played a crucial role in crafting the support services that would complement the housing." "That's fantastic news," Ava radiated with authentic pride. Michael noted that the city council was somewhat reluctant. They were, that is, until we shared the findings from our pilot program. It turns out that stable housing leads to a reduction in recidivism by more than 60%. Ethan shook his head in disbelief. In hindsight, it becomes clear. Individuals require a solid base to reconstruct their existence. Foundations, Ava mused with contemplation. "Indeed, that's what we've been constructing, isn't it? A sturdy base." Ethan nodded, recognizing the similarity. Their bond at this moment was founded on something more resilient than the initial spark that had united them. The difficult lessons of yesteryears had compelled them to engage in more honest dialogue, confronting their fears instead of concealing them. "I have something for you," he declared unexpectedly, recalling the small box nestled in his pocket. Ava arched an eyebrow. "Oh, it's not what you think," he chuckled, noticing the brief flicker of concern in her gaze. "Not just yet, at least." He presented her with the small velvet box. Inside lay a simple silver key. "What's this for?" she inquired, turning it over in her palm. "Your apartment lease is up next month," he started. "And I thought perhaps if you were interested you might think about moving in here." He quickly added, "No pressure. It's merely a suggestion." Ava examined the key, her face a mask of contemplation. "Are you certain that's your desire?" "I've never felt more certain about anything," he replied with sincerity. "But only if you're prepared." She remained quiet for a lengthy pause, and Ethan sensed a wave of unease wash over him. Had he moved too quickly? Was she still unsure about him? "Before I respond," she finally said, "there's something I must ask you." "Anything. If I agree, will this still be your space that I'm coming into? Or will it become our shared home?" The question caught him off guard, yet he recognized its significance. "I want it to be ours," he replied with conviction. "We can redecorate, rearrange, whatever you desire. Or we could explore the possibility of finding a completely new place if that's what you'd like. A space that belongs to us from the very start." Ava's expression softened. "That holds great significance for me." She grasped the key tightly in her hand. "Yes, I would be delighted to share a home with you." Relief and joy enveloped him as he drew her into a warm embrace. "You've just made me the happiest man in the city." Later that day, they gathered with Michael for lunch at a quaint restaurant close to the construction site where he toiled. He appeared robust and self-assured in his work attire, a stark contrast to the timid individual Ethan had encountered over a year prior. "So, she accepted?" Michael inquired right away, beaming at his sister. Ava's jaw fell in surprise. Did you know about this? He sought my opinion last week. Michael shrugged, obviously satisfied with himself. I mentioned that it was about time. So, you approve? Ethan asked, a hint of humor in his voice. Michael's demeanor shifted, becoming more earnest. You're one of the good ones, Ethan. It simply took some time for you to come to that realization. While they dined, Michael revealed some news of his own. He had been accepted into a community college program in construction management, which he planned to attend in the evenings while still working. His girlfriend, Lisa, had been offered a position at a nearby clinic as a counselor for those overcoming addiction. He reflected on his life, feeling a sense of contentment. It was better than he had ever anticipated after his time in prison. Observing the siblings interact, Ethan was overwhelmed with gratitude. His earlier misjudgment could have resulted in significant loss. Yet, through an unexpected series of events, it had brought him to this moment, filled with meaning and genuine relationships. That evening, as Ava started to take stock of her apartment in preparation for the move, Ethan meandered through the cozy space that had been her sanctuary. It was unpretentious yet inviting, brimming with books, plants, and cherished photographs. A stark contrast to his sleek penthouse, adorned with costly but soulless furnishings. I want to infuse this space with that energy, he said, gesturing around. It feels like a home. Ava glanced up from the box she was packing. It's merely possessions, Ethan. No, it's beyond that. It's the existence you've created. He lifted a framed photo of Ava and Michael from their teenage years, arms draped around one another. These moments narrate your journey. And now we will weave our narrative together. She approached him, her presence a blend of light and shadow. He placed the photo aside and grasped her hands gently. I was once so consumed by fear of pain that I failed to recognize the beauty before me. She confessed that she had opted for tests rather than embracing uncertainty, and her habit of managing everything solo left her unsure of how to accept assistance. They both recognized the growth they had experienced. Ethan nodded, reflecting on their journey. Have you ever thought about this? Love isn't merely about discovering someone who meets your criteria. It's truly about finding someone who inspires you to take chances. That could very well be the most insightful thing you've ever expressed. Ava playfully bantered, her eyes sparkling with warmth. As the night enveloped them, they kept packing, sharing dreams of the life they would create together. They deliberated over hues for the living room, the placement of Ava's books, and whether a larger dining table was necessary for entertaining friends. Amidst the flow of everyday dialogue, Ethan experienced a moment of stillness, struck by a profound realization. This was the essence of his quest. It wasn't the affirmation of love, even in the face of loss, but rather the exhilaration of creating something significant in unison. As they strolled hand in hand through the serene streets on their way to what would soon be their shared home, he paused beneath a streetlight and faced her. I once believed that wealth was defined by possessions, he said softly. Now, I understand that it's truly about what you give and the people you cherish. Ava stood on her tiptoes and kissed him, a gesture so instinctive now it felt like returning to a familiar place. I love you, Ethan Caldwell, she murmured against his lips. Not for what you possess, but for who you truly are. And I love you, Ava Whitmore, he replied, for showing me the meaning of trust, the beauty of giving, and the potential to become more than I ever imagined. Together, they walked toward their future, unafraid of what lay ahead. They had discovered the most vital truth of all. True love demands no trials, only bravery, sincerity, and a shared commitment to evolve together, no matter the challenges that arise. Did you find yourself captivated by Ethan and Ava's tale of trust, deception, and redemption? Their narrative serves as a poignant reminder that genuine connections are forged not through trials or ideal situations, but through honesty and the bravery to be open. If their heartfelt journey struck a chord with you, please give that like button a tap, share your reflections in the comments, and consider passing this video along to someone who could benefit from the message that love thrives on trust, not tests. We're eager to hear where you're tuning in from. From which country are you enjoying this story? Share your location in the comments below. If this tale of transformation and second chances resonated with you, think about subscribing to our channel for more heartfelt narratives that delve into the intricacies of human relationships. Your support enables us to keep crafting content that resonates and ignites meaningful discussions.